This video was made possible by viewers like you over on Patreon. Check out the link in the description to hear how you can help make shows like this be even more amazing. Hey everyone, Gaijin Goombah here. What?
2 years, buddy. 2 years it's been since we teased the idea of coming back to Kimetsu no Yaiba for a video. For crying out loud, the manga series completed back in May of 2020. What took so freaking long?
Alright, look, to be 100% honest, I was kinda hoping on riding the hype of Season 2 of Kimetsu no Yaiba when it was gonna come out, but I had no idea that it was gonna take 2 freaking years for it to come out, between Seasons 1 and Seasons 2, let alone knowing that the entirety of the manga series was going to be done in May of last year. So, look, let me try to rectify this situation by finally covering the last of the Season 1 Oni, and in my opinion, the most terrifying, Nui and his adopted arachnid family.
Wait, hold on. What about the Oni demons of the Suzumi Mansion arc? You know, tongue guy, fat lad, and the petrifying percussionist Kyo guy.
Well, here's the thing about those three. Heck, the thing about all of the Oni in Kimetsu no Yaiba. When it comes to our videos on them, the only thing we can really do here is speculate. Whereas other Oni and yokai-filled anime like Nunarihon no Mago have very, very specific one-to-one inspirations with yokai of traditional Japanese folklore, Kimetsu no Yaiba doesn't. Not really, anyway. It's true that in past videos we've done on this series, we've deduced at least a few ideas of specific yokai that series creator Gotoge Koyoharu may have gotten their ideas from, but none of them have ever been obviously one thing or another, which ironically is how Oni in the Heian period actually were. They were kind of a mishmash, they had no classification. But that's neither here nor there. My point is, when it comes to Demonslayer, all we can really do in these videos is speculate with what limited references we can find in the series. And when it comes to the Oni of the Suzumi Mansion arc, there's so little to connect them to anything that originally I was just gonna skip them all together. But I know there are a couple of you out there that wouldn't let me live that down, so let's just run through them really quick. Starting with the Shita Oni, or Tongue Demon. This gross mess of a demon is a humanoid but crawls on all fours using his prehensile tongue to attack with, and it's a pretty strong tongue able to extend far and smash things. It has 2 horns, 2 sets of eyes of varying description, and is barely clothed. Now, there were a decent number of Edo period yokai that had long, gross tongues, but there are only 2 that really stood out as having tongues that were this long and this flexible: the Tenjo Name and the Aka Name. Tenjo Name were upright, tall humanoids with skin that looked like strips of paper from an Edo period firefighter's matoi, who would lick ceilings and rafters of filth and dust. Akaname, on the other hand, were child-sized, constantly hunched over humanoids with greasy hair and skin that would crawl around unkept bathrooms and lick the grime that would congeal there. And while these 2 yokai might sound like godsend cleaners, their saliva was actually toxic and said to spread diseases. Between the Akaname and the Tenjo Name though, I'd have to put my speculative bet that the Shita Oni from the series is purely based on the Akaname. Tenjo Name, remember, are tall, upright, and have matoi paper skin, features that the Shita Oni completely lack. But the Akaname? Hunched over, crawling on all fours, greasy hair, mostly naked, small stature? Yeah, that fits the Shita Oni to a T.
And here you said there wasn't much to connect these Oni. So what about Tsunojo Oni and Kyogai?
Dude, I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
Exactly that. Like, there's nothing. The Tsunojo Oni, aka the Horned Demon in the series, does so little and is so quickly taken out by Inosuke that there's literally nothing to really go off of here. I mean, he's huge, got 1 horn, got a descended stomach, and is fueled by hunger of humans. Yeah, that's like 90% of all Oni everywhere in folk stories. I mean, sure, it harkens back to the Oni's general appearance of having several to singular eyes and horns as described in the Uji Shui Monogatari, which we covered in our last Demon Slayer video, but that's it. Nothing else makes him all that unique. Kyogai, on the other hand, has the exact opposite problem. He's insanely too specific. Kyogai's an Oni that shares the majority of his old human form, but now has red eyes, sharp teeth, elongated ears, and has Suzumi drums sticking out of his body. There is one instance where I found a yokai that was anywhere close to Kyogai, and it's this. Don't ask me to name it, cause I really don't think it has one. This is just a goofy little Tsukumogami that came out of the yokai Emaki.
Wait, that just means yokai picture scroll. Is that the actual name?
Yeah, I know, it's the most non-specific name ever for a picture scroll, but I kid you not, this was the only name and the only iteration that I could find with this little bugger in my research, so take that for what you will. But all of that considered, I think there is a decent chance that Goltolge may have been inspired by this ratty little guy to give shape to Kyogai. Both of them are fairly pale, have elongated ears, sharp teeth, clawed digits, long wild hair, and a Suzumi drum fused to their bodies. Again, I can't 100% say for certain, but I think there may be something to consider here. Alright, with all of that completed, let me finally get on to Rui and his arachnid adopted family. Because while I still only have spidery speculation to go off of with this family freaks, I do have more to work with.
So, in what way?
Like, out of the family, there's 5 members worth noting. Spider Mom, Spider Dad, Spider Big Bro, Spider Sis, and Dewey at the center. Despite there being 5 of them, none of them, again, have any direct one-to-one connection with any spidery yokai, but they individually pull multiple traits from 3 specific ones: Jorogumo, Tsuchigumo, and Gyuki, aka Ushioni. Again, reminder that we are speculating here, so if anyone wants to come into this discussion telling me that I'm wrong, you're wasting your time because that's not the point here. So, let's start off with Kumochichi, or Daddy Spider. Out of the 5, he's absolutely the least complicated. He's a 10-foot juggernaut with a human body and the head of an arachnophobe's nightmare. Now, this may sound stupid, but I think Kumochichi is actually rooted somewhat with the Gyuki, and here's why. Out of all the different spider-oriented yokai, Gyuki are the most beefy and violent. I mean, sure, they spread diseases like most other yokai, but these spider-bodied cow-headed titans were known for being more directly brutal. Which, yeah, mindless violence, that's Kumochichi in a nutshell. But here's the twist. While it's commonplace that Gyuki are depicted as having the head of a demon bull and the body of a spider, there are other iterations of the Gyuki that have other types of bodies, including a human one, making it look more synonymous with the Minotaur and the like. So, here's my very, very rough speculation. I am really curious if Kumochichi's big gross spider head come from this alternate idea of Gyuki, where their body is human but their head is a nightmare. Normally taking the head of a bull, this iteration is taking the spider side of the Gyuki for its head.
So basically switching the idea of a bull head with a spider head because there's half a spider in there somewhere with a Gyuki.
Basically. I know it's confusing, but maybe the other 4 Oni characters will make more sense. Next up, we got Kumohaha, or Mama Spider. And this is the one that the majority of you, I suppose, can already guess. I mean, freaking look at her! I know folks would argue that her thickness coincides with the traditional idea of motherhood, but not with that plunging top. Yeah, safe to say I think that a decent part of Kumohaha's design comes from the Jorogumo, a 400-year-old golden orb weaver spider that not only gains sentience and magical powers, but also the taste for vigorous young men, using their beautified, transformed appearance to lure men in their prime to their caves or abandoned homes to poison, wrap up, and then feast on them later.
Wait, so is all that speculation coming solely from her plunging neckline? I mean, there's a lot more to Jorogumo than just their moxie.
Oh, absolutely, and Kumohaha is no exception. So, if we can get our heads out of the cleavage for a hot second, what's the one thing that Mama Spider does in the series as a villain? Uses teeny tiny spiders that tie off a web connecting them to Kumohaha onto different demonslayers and control them like puppets. Now, while one could say that Jorogumo knew exactly how to manipulate and control men like puppets to their lair, there is one thing about them that I think is a bit more concrete, which comes from Toriyama Sekien's interpretation of Jorogumo. In this image, we see that attached to each of her hands is a tether of web connecting her to her much smaller spiders that are breathing fire. Now, this may simply be Sekien's aesthetic, but Jorogumo have evolved into being able to control tiny spiders via tether, and such interpretations have been seen in other games. So, in my final analysis, I think this particular trait gives Kumohaha more of a Jorogumo vibe than her voluptuous appearance. Next, we got Kumoani, or Big Bro Spider. And this dude is not only the most creepy, but I think speculatively has the most spider yokai themes. So what do we know about him? He's a human head on a massive spider body, spits corrosive poison, and his bite injects another poison into a human system that slowly kills them and transforms them into a mindless human-headed small spider spawn servant. Now, roll with me on this one. Kumoani's traits come very specifically from Gyuki and Tsuchigumo. First, let's get the easy one out of the way. Kumoani has a super corrosive spit, right? Well, in some variations of the legend, so do Gyuki, spitting a poison to incapacitate human prey. Sounds familiar, right? Okay, well, here's the tricky one. Kumo Ani's small spider slaves. I'll be candid, this one is a reach, like a real reach. But I think this aspect of the spider mini-me's and the time-ticking poison come from one of the several iterations of the Tsuchigumo story. In the Heikei Monogatari, the folklore hero Minamoto no Yorimitsu, aka Raiko, was sick in bed and wasn't getting any better from the supposed medicine he was getting from a monk who told him that he had the cure to Raiko's illness. Knowing something was up, Raiko, despite his debilitated state, took a swing at the supposed monk, which was actually Tsuchigumo in disguise. Following the trail of blood, Raiko and his Shiteno crew found the creature in a cave and finished it off. And upon slaying the creature, Raiko's illness completely left him. I know this is super huge speculation going on here, but I really do wonder if the poison that Kumo Ani uses to slowly kill and turn victims into spider slaves has any relation to the slow burning poison that Tsuchigumo used. But don't think too much on that because we're just getting started. In another iteration of Raiko vs Tsuchigumo, a picture scroll called Tsuchigumo Solshi, Raiko was joined by his retainer Watanabe no Suna to hunt and bring down Tsuchigumo. One flying skull and a run through a haunted mansion later, the two heroes came across a wounded Tsuchigumo and finished the creature off. But if you look carefully around Tsuchigumo as Raiko and Suna are taking it out, what do you see? Yeah, little babby spiders with big eyes, round bald heads, and about the size of a child. Again, I wonder where we've seen that before. Look, I know, this is some really wild speculation, but all these connections seem way too close to simply be coincidence.
Yeah, but what about Kumo Ane, or Big Sis Spider? I mean, really all she does is act as a living flashback in order to give Dewey and his family some kind of humanizing depth. So, what in the world is she connected to?
Yeah, not that much. I mean, in the series, all she really does is cocoon demon slayers and other victims in a ball of harder-than-steel webbing which produces an acid that dissolves her prey. I assume so she can eat them later. And yeah, this is kind of a sped-up version of what Jorogumo do. You got a female yokai spider that traps men in cocoons rather than ambushing them, and then spews digestive juices into the cocoon or directly into the body of their prey in order to ingest them. But dude, a lot of spiders do that, so I hesitate to say that there's any real connection between Kumo Ane and Jorogumo. But finally we get to Dewey, and boy was this one tough. Because Dewey is both so complicated yet ridiculously simple that trying to connect him to a spider yokai of folklore of any kind was almost impossible. Almost. See, unlike the other spider demon family, Dewey has an extensive, unique backstory that more or less nullifies his origin being any relation to other spider yokai. And at the same time, the only thing that he does to attack is lash out with spider webs to slice people up. That's it. No diversity. Oh, I know he has different attacks with different names, but they all do the same thing. Cut. And there's no spider yokai in folklore that I could find that did this. But there is one tiny little thing that might actually connect him to the great spider yokai Tsuchigumo. And I'll warn you right now, this is the penultimate of speculation in this video. Going back to the art and story of the Tsuchigumo Solshi, Raiko and Suna in the beginning of the tale were following a flying skull to a run-down manor. Within its halls, the two were assailed by all different kinds of monsters and demons, and then finally they came across the source of all these yokai, Tsuchigumo in the form of a beautiful woman. Now, according to the story, it attempted to lob some sort of cloud at Raiko, but as a counter, he drew his sword and slashed at the woman, who then fled in her true form of that of the massive spider Tsuchigumo. So, did you catch the connection? Yeah, it's really small, almost negligible. But the one thing that might connect Dewey to Tsuchigumo may very well be their theme of harboring and empowering other demons. While Dewey used his ability to empower and control his family of other Oni, Tsuchigumo had his own army of Oni within the manor. Some iterations state that it was Tsuchigumo's intention to lead this army against the Imperial Court. So, I don't know, gang. Like I said, Dewey's original backstory and super basic abilities makes him really hard to pin down. But there very well might be some connection between him and Tsuchigumo through their family organization of Oni.
I don't know, man. It's all just not super solid, but also not completely wrong?
Yeah, and again, that's the problem. Kimetsu no Yaiba has tons and tons of different Oni and demons that have so many individual traits based on other Oni of folklore, but yeah, is it hard to pin them all down. I gotta give Gold Toge credit on this one. I have no flippin' clue if there really is any yokai folklore rooted in these designs, But rather than making them bad, I think the ambiguousness of it makes them far more compelling villains than just grabbing a big bad yokai from Folklore and calling it a day. I don't know, what do you all think? Is there some cultural rooting in Demon Slayer's demons, or am I just completely going over the deep end here? Let me know in the comments below, and while you do, a massive thank you to all my patrons who made this video possible. I'll be honest, after 2 long years, I didn't think folks would really be interested in another Kimetsu no Yaiba video, but lordy, did y'all prove me wrong. So, thank you greatly for doing so. In any case, I hope you have a fun and happy holiday season, everyone. Personally, I keep tripping on more and more video ideas. Animal Crossing. So, if you enjoyed this video, sub up, get notified, and come back every other weekend or so for even more culture in games and anime. But, as always, until next time everyone, this is Gaijin Goombah, signing out.